With just 4 PAC regular season basketball contests left for both the men and the women here at Waynesburg, they both sit at 5 and 7, which means two things. They could either A, end up with a home playoff game, or B, an 8-seed finish and likely a quick exit to St. Vincent.
And Jake Evans continues his dominance on the mat for the Yellow Jacket wrestling team. We'll check in with what they did this past weekend, as well as dive into some indoor track and field. I'm Dylan Cleland.
And I'm Jack Hillgrove, and it's time for Jacket Sports Weekly. Back here on Jacket Sports Weekly, I'm Jack Hillgrove. To my left is Dylan Cleland. And it was a big week for both basketball teams this past week. Wednesday, a big conference win against Geneva. We'll start with the men. They won that one 72-67.
They did, Jack. And Brennan Smith, I would almost deem him with the title of Mr. Consistent for this team all season long, bouncing back from a season-ending injury that held him out all of last year. Had 19 points in the game, shot 1 of 2 from beyond the arc. And not just him. You have to look at Nate Gearhart. He had 17 points with 7 rebounds. Matt Popek, 15 points, 4 of 4 at the free throw line. These guys are starting to get things going a little bit. They're still farther down in the PAC standings, but if you look at the big picture, they're only a game or two out of second place.
Yeah, they are, and it's like we mentioned in the intro, this men's basketball team, 5 and 7 right now, 4 games left, can finish, one contest to get left against St. Vincent. That's more than likely going to be a loss. And then their other 3 games, Teal, Bethany at the bottom of the conference, and W&J at home on senior night, rival game. They already beat W&J. It's definitely a winnable game. So an 8-8 finish could put them, 3rd or 4th with a home playoff game. But, they lost to Bethany already. Bethany's 1-10 in the conference, and that game's on the road, so they could lose there. Teal they already lost to, so they could finish at best 3-1, worst 0-4, and that 0-4 mark could probably put them at the 8th seed. And you're going to end up with St. Vincent again in the first round, who they're just on a completely different level than everybody else.
They are. It's St. Vincent and then everybody else. Usually W&J's up there with them, but even this year, it's an opportunity for a win on Wednesday, as you had said. One other thing to point out, they shot 12 for 12 at the free throw line against Geneva. That's outstanding. And that's a big part of basketball, especially 5-point game. You don't make those shots, you might not win that game.
Yeah, and there's a lot that you can talk about this basketball team this year for Waynesburg, not being consistent with some things, but free throw percentage, and Matt Popek in particular, have been outstanding all season. We'll talk about the women, who, towards the start of conference play looked absolutely abysmal, but they're rattling off a couple of other wins. They're also 5 and 7, 76-62 W over Geneva on Wednesday. Andrea Orlowski and Monica Starr had 18 points. Haley Porter had 17. I think it just took a little bit for these girls to start gelling with each other, and I think, it might be a little too late, but they're young, and we can see what happens next year. But their play towards this point in the conference season has been really, really strong.
It has. They've really come on. They've won 3 consecutive PAC contests, including that one against Geneva last week. Porter had 17 points, Orlowski 18. And Orlowski earned actually a national honor last week. She was named to the Team of the Week on D3Hoops.com, so congratulations goes out to her, among being the PAC Player of the Week as well. So she's really stepped in, filled a role on the offensive side of the ball for the Jackets. But when you look at this team, like you said, there's only 9 girls on it, and they've had to fight through some adversity, some injuries, but now the freshmen have kind of found where they fit in. Brooke Fuller, starting to come on offensively a little bit. Haley Porter definitely coming on offensively. She can shoot the 3-ball well. If she's on, then that's going in. And so this team right now, in an all right position. Sam Jones said earlier today, I actually spoke to him, he said, we need to play the best version of us. So with what they have, they need to produce as much as they can. And so it's an exciting opportunity for them with 4 to go still. Maybe a chance to make a little bit of noise in the PAC.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say that, be the best version of themselves, and I think Coach Jones kind of realized that as the season went on. You notice that he utilized Brooke Fuller in the beginning of the season, wanted her to be like an Addie Knetzer type player again, and she's only a freshman, and how great of a player Addie was. Brooke might have the potential to do that, but right now she's not ready. So kind of adapting their post play, getting Brooke some one-on-one opportunities in the post, and she's done that, and she's capitalized on it as well. And I like Aaron Joyce's role, shifting more towards a pass-first guard than a primary shooter. And now, just talking about some other Waynesburg sports as we roll along here on JSW, the wrestling team, and as it's been, Jake Evans just absolutely rolling through every opponent he faces.
What can you say? First place. That's his 4th time this season that he's taken first place at a tournament. A clean 5-0 over the weekend at the John Suma Invitational with 3 pins and 2 of them in the first period. So he has competitors out there on the mat for 2.5 minutes, and he's pinning these guys and he's moving on. He's saying thank you next.
Yeah, he is, and there was a really interesting circumstance that could have happened on Saturday. The Division II champion from Wheeling Jesuit, Terrence Fenning, was on the opposite side of the bracket. And there was a chance where obviously Evans advanced to that final. If Fenning advanced, and he did, that they would meet in the championship. So D2 champ versus D3 champ. Unfortunately, Terrence Fanning did not compete in that championship match. Jake Evans ended up winning at the heavyweight level for his 175th career college win. And as you mentioned, 3 pins. It's just dominance in itself. And, he'd like to think that he's on his way to another national championship run in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, definitely. So the team finished 4th out of 15 teams overall. Take a look at some of the other guys. Junior Zach Mackel, he took a 4th place with 2 pins and a technical fall, so 3 wins for him. Junior Dan Verhosik, 5th place, won 10-8, and then he lost in the consolations to who was the eventual champion of the 165-pound weight class. So not a bad day for him, including 3 consecutive wins to end the day. And then a couple of 1-win guys as well. Matt Lascola, Jaden Gordon, Matt Claxton, Tanner Six, all picking up 1 win. And so this team now has to get ready for the PAC Championship, something they've won in the past couple of years consecutively. And really, it's interesting to see this team year in and year out compete and what Coach Headley can do with them.
Yeah, and they went through a little bit of a cold stretch in the beginning of the season, and a lot of people thought that follow the PAC wrestling field that W&J was the team to beat this year, and then there was that turning point a few weeks ago. W&J and Waynesburg met one-on-one. Waynesburg came out on top, and a lot of the people thought, hey, now Waynesburg and W&J, it makes for a really interesting matchup in a few weeks at the PAC Championships. And as we mentioned, 3 semifinal finishers for the Jackets. At 174, Anthony Welsh and Dylan Charlton. At 154, Zach Mackel. 86 total team points for Waynesburg, and the gap, I think, from 3rd to 4th, where they were, was like 120. Third had 120 points to 86. So Waynesburg did the best they could do, and Wheeling Jesuit won the whole thing outright, and they're a Division II school. So where Waynesburg stacked up against its competition, I thought they did extremely well. And there you have it. That was the recap of the Waynesburg sports this past week. The analysts come in next. We'll start off with men's basketball and Corey Fisher. You're watching Jacket Sports Weekly.
You got a king?
Go fish!
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
Welcome back to Jacket Sports Weekly. Time to shift to our analysts, and it's Corey Fisher. He's in to talk about the men's basketball team. Now, Jack and I kind of talked about the Geneva game, but they did have a non-conference game against Thomas More this past Saturday.
Yeah, they welcomed in the Thomas More Saints, who were formerly in the PAC, but not any longer. And the Saints had their way with the Jackets, defeating them 80-63. They were on an 8-game winning streak, which then stretched it to 9, Waynesburg did shoot 47% from the field, though, which is pretty good for them, but they did have 16 turnovers, which is way too many against a good team. And that's something we have to look at when we go into the playoffs. Like you guys were talking about in the beginning, they're going to finish either that 7 or 8 seed. You can't afford to have 16 turnovers against any of those good teams at the top, especially a team like Chatham, who matches up well with Waynesburg, and that's why they defeated them once, because they're guard heavy, they're not a big team, and they're old. But you can't afford to have 16 turnovers against any good team in this conference, or you will lose. They're 6-15 overall now, 5-7 in PAC play, which is 7th place. But Teal is right on their behind, going at 4-7. So they really had to step up their game. They play W&J here coming up shortly, and they defeated them last time 80-76. And that's going to be a big game for them, especially going in, which, again, W&J matches up well because they don't have a big guy. And that's what was a problem for them when they played teams like Westminster, who had 6'8" Blake Payne, who just dominated on the glass. And if you can't turn the ball over 16 times when you don't have a guy that's going to rebound the ball, it's just not how you're going to win ball games. And they can't afford to lose coming down the stretch here.
Now, against Thomas More, Corey, Waynesburg coughed up 15 offensive rebounds to the Saints. Is that an alarming number heading into the last 4 games in the PAC, or is that just the fact that Thomas Moore's really, really good at basketball?
I think it's a little bit of both. Thomas Moore's really good at basketball, but that's been the storyline with this Waynesburg team all day long. They're just not a big team. Aaron Novad plays their biggest position. He's 6'5", 6'6", max. He's just not that big. He's not going to dominate on the glass for this team. They're not going to get rebounds. That's why they have to take every single possession and make it the best. They can't afford turnovers. They can't afford lousy shots. They have to create plays and make plays and get layups and easy buckets. 8-footers, what they need to do, not just shoot threes all the time. That's when you saw Nate Gearhart dominate against Geneva. He didn't just shoot threes from outside. He dominated inside, which he's not a tall guy, but he's a big man in the middle, and he dominates down low.
Tough week for the Jackets. W&J and St. Vincent. Do they pick up a win in either of those games?
Yeah, I think they'll knock off W&J at home, which they do struggle at home a lot more than they do on the road. But I think they'll get it done on senior night. I think the seniors will go out there and they'll play well and they'll defeat them. You can't expect to beat St. Vincent, which they're pretty good. They're, like you guys said, they're just on a whole different level from all other teams. But I think that you can expect and you should expect a win from W&J. There's really no excuse to lose that game if you want to make yourself a good opportunity in the postseason. All
right, thank you, Corey, for your analysis. When we come back, Dakota Kiefer will come in to break down the women's basketball team. You're watching Jacket Sports Weekly.
Hello and welcome to The Journey, WCTV's only faith-based program.
Over the course of this semester, we are going to walk with students through their daily lives and take a look at how faith impacts them.
Please take a half hour, sit down, and relax with us as we go on a journey with students, staff, and residents of Waynesburg.
Back here on JSW, it's the women's basketball segment now with Dakota Kiefer. Dakota, this women's basketball team, as we touched on in the intro, is on a roll last 3 games in a row in the PAC. What do they got to do to continue it?
They've been simply fantastic, and you mentioned the role they're on. They were 3-10, and now they're 5-7 in the PAC, which is the big deal because they're now in 6th place. They're ahead of Westminster, is now in 7th place, and they destroyed Westminster the last time they played them. They beat them by nearly 30 points, and they beat Geneva this past Wednesday. And Geneva, obviously not a very good team, but the most impressive part about the win was this was a 3rd straight game in the PAC that Waynesburg played better in the second half than they did in the first half. And I think that's a model of consistency with teams that if you could play better in the second half, the other team will get tired and you'll be able to take advantage and take the lead. And that's what they've been doing. Even in that game against Westminster where they ended up blowing them out, it was a 2-point game at halftime. So really, they've been simply phenomenal in the second half, and I think that's the big key to their success so far in the past couple of games. And another thing that I want to take away from that Geneva game, this may be even more impressive. Waynesburg had 4 players in double digits, and Erin Joyce, she was only 1 point away. She had 9 points. So I think that's a big key. It's, the next man up mentality. They all play very well together. They seem like they're in sync now, and I think a lot of that is credit to Coach Jones, who has really shaped them into a good basketball team. I think they are around middle of the pack talent-wise now in the PAC, and who knows, they might end up with a home playoff game, which I think would be big. And then moving into Washington and Jefferson, it seemed like this maybe wasn't a game that they could win, but W&J has shown some vulnerability recently. They were riding an 11-game winning streak, and they maybe were the hottest team in the PAC, maybe besides St. Vincent. But then they lost to Chatham, which is a team that Waynesburg beat by double digits. And they went on to beat Westminster, but Westminster's not great. They're not bad. But then they went on to lose to Teal, who I would consider a pretty bad team in the PAC. 8th place. Waynesburg lost to Teal the first time, but this Waynesburg team is different than that team than they were earlier in the year. And I think in both losses, the key was that Maria Lawhorn for W&J scored 20 points, and Ali Sito was also in double digits in both games, but Danielle Parker was held in check. She only had 9 points and 4 points, and in the win against Westminster, she had 20. So if Waynesburg's going to beat Washington and Jefferson, I think they need to hold Danielle Parker into check, and I think if they're able to do that, it's a very winnable game. It might not seem like it, or at least a couple weeks ago it didn't seem like it, but I think this is a game that Waynesburg could win, and then I think after that, Waynesburg could end up beating Teal or maybe even beating Bethany as well and come out with 2 or 3 more wins in the PAC.
Be interesting to see how things shake out for the women. Dakota, thank you as always. When we come back on Jacket Sports Weekly, Nicholas Callis will be in studio to discuss the wrestling squad. Stay tuned.
My name is Corey Tertinick, and I'm here with this week's entertainment news.
campus. And remember, it's all of your beeswax.
It's all of your beeswax. Remember, it's all of your beeswax.
We continue to roll along here on JSW with our analysts, and Nick Callis steps in to talk about the wrestling team. Nick, Jake Evans, another dominant weekend.
Yeah, Jake Evans, 36 wins now in the season, only one loss. And congratulations to him. He got his 175th collegiate win. He had a 5-0 day at the John Suma tournament. Waynesburg, as a whole team, though, has been wrestling very well this season. 6th place winners at the John Suma tournament. Yet Anthony Welsh, and there is a sophomore at 174 pounds, who made it to semifinals. Dylan Charlton, also a sophomore at 174, also made it to semifinals. He shared the bronze title with Anthony Welsh that day. So really, you have a young team right now who lost a few prominent seniors like Tristan Buxton and Derek Hull. But I see a lot of potential in these guys, especially as the PAC championships roll forward.
Now, talking about those PAC championships, Nick, you have to assume that Jake Evans is going to take home the crown there, as he did last year in the national crown as well. Are there some other guys that you anticipate that might surprise a little bit as far as top finishes at the PAC championships?
You know, it's hard because a lot of these guys on the team, although they're good and although they wrestle well as a team, individually, the records that they have aren't as phenomenal as Jake Evans. So right now, compared to Washington and Jefferson, I don't see a lot of matches being won against their team. Now, if I want to put this into perspective for how Teal wrestled last year at the PAC championships, Waynesburg had 107 points, Teal had 48. So I don't think Teal's going to be a big issue for a lot of the people or a lot of the wrestlers on this team. But I think Washington and Jefferson, for the most part, in this individual-based tournament, is going to dominate over the Waynesburg players.
Yeah, Nick, and another thing to think about when you say that, Thomas More no longer in the conference either, so that kind of helps things out as far as the championships go.
Well, Thomas More only finished in 3rd place in the PAC championships last year, and that's by the point differentials. So Washington and Jefferson wrestled better than Thomas More did. So really, it's just about getting to Washington and Jefferson. I don't think it's going to be a big difference for Waynesburg regarding Thomas Moore's absence.
We will see how Waynesburg deals with W&J and Teal at the PAC championships this week. Colin McLaughlin is up next. He'll talk about indoor track here on JSW.
Welcome to Watch This. I'm Brennan Rossai.
And I'm Chris Hulse.
On this show, we look at all of the national movies and TV shows that are making shockwaves throughout the society.
Join us as we review and preview Hollywood's best and worst.
On Watch This.
Jack Hillgrove here, back on Jacket Sports Weekly. Colin McLaughlin joins us now to talk about the men's and women's indoor track team. We didn't get to talk about that earlier in the show. Both teams went to 2 different locations. Some went to Youngstown State, some went to Mount Union. Regardless, there were some highlighted finishers at both spots.
Yeah, as you said, Jack, the Waynesburg University track and field team competed there in Ohio on Friday and Saturday. A group of the Yellow Jackets ran at the 5,000 meter at Youngstown State University Mid-Major Invitational on Friday. After that, the rest of the squad went to the University of Mount Union for the Jim Wuske Invitational. Neither of those events featured team scoring. It was all individual scoring. Freshman Aubrey Wingart led the charge for the Waynesburg women in Youngstown with a time of 17 minutes, 58.13 seconds. She got 5th place, that 5,000 meter. And then senior Tegan Simonton took 27th in the event with a time of 19 minutes, 39.71 seconds, while sophomores Gianna Pugliano and Nicole Shelton followed in 28th and 29th place, respectively. Sophomore Matt Durgan led the Jacket men with a 26th time of 16:44.71. Sophomore Jordan Payne took 31st with 17 minutes, 21 seconds. Now for that Jim Wuske Invitational there on Saturday, freshman Gloria Reed on the women's side took 6th in the 3,000 meter run. Sophomore Alicia Straight came in 24th in that run as well, with a time of 13:20.66. Shelton, Cunningham, Simonton, and Wingart all competed in the 4,000 distance medley relay. They finished second among all the teams there. Sophomore Catherine Fair took 7th in the 60-meter hurdle. Sophomore Rebecca Volts and junior Catherine Thompson finished 12th and 13th in the 800-meter run. Sophomore Ember Yock got 7th in the long jump with a 16.25-inch jump there. And Yock also finished second in the triple jump, 10.23 meters for her jump there. Men's indoor track and field now for that Whiskey Invitational. Matt Mansfield came in 13th place, our guy here in the common department, in that 3,000-meter run. 10 minutes, 32.31 seconds. Freshman Jerwan Jones finished 7th in that 60-yard dash with a time of 7.226 seconds. 4th place through 8th place all finished 0.27 seconds apart. They go to the Kenyon College Classic next before they compete in that PAC championship. The women's team might possibly win again. Men's team hopefully can finish middle of the PAC.
2 weeks separates from their last meet to the Kenyon College Classic. We'll see how they do in a couple of weeks, and then before you know it, it's the PAC Indoor Championship. So, Colin, again, thank you for joining us on Jacket Sports Weekly. Joe Smeltzer sits down with Nate Gearhart next on JSW.
Pretty much a good day for me would be people leaving their hands off of me. I'm always called names. Everywhere that I go, there's always someone calling me names, calling me gay. I've been choked, thrown up against a wall, punched. Nobody's ever tried to help me.
Welcome back to Jacket Sports Weekly. Now it's time for our interview segment. I'm Joe Smeltzer here with Waynesburg University basketball and baseball player Nate Gearhart. Nate, so you're a senior. You've been playing for 4 years for Coach Christner. How would you say you are as a player this year compared to where you've been in the past?
In the past, I was more passive, just looking to fill the role as a shooter, whereas this year I tend to try to score some inside points, get to the free throw line, and then hit threes once I'm getting into the momentum of the game. I feel like being more aggressive for my team opens up not only myself but my teammates, and I feel like I can make plays for them as well.
So you mentioned that you've been more emphasized in the paint this year as opposed to from beyond the arc. What kind of inspired that change?
I played more like that in high school, where I was more aggressive, tried to get to the free throw line, and I think being a senior and being a leader, I think that for our team to be as good as we can be, I'd have to be more aggressive just so I can make plays for my teammates as well, and just be more of a threat, not just stand there at the three-point line and wait. I felt like I could help more if I drove to the hoop as well.
So this season in the President's Athletic Conference has been kind of odd in that St. Vincent is the top team, but after that it's kind of a free-for-all. Waynesburg's gotten wins over Chatham, Geneva, Grove City, and W&J. So being that the conference is wide open aside from St. Vincent, how has that kind of affected the way that you guys play, being that it's so open aside from that one team?
We know that at any time we can rattle off a win streak and move up in the conference. With each team maybe losing here and there, it just leaves it wide open. We know that we're not always out. Our goal is to get a home playoff game here in a few weeks, and with any team being able to beat anybody, we know that we have a really good shot and can achieve our goal.
All right, so you're playing St. Vincent on the road Saturday. What did you see from St. Vincent the first time you played at the Rudy Marisa Fieldhouse, and what do you expect to see this time?
They're really good. They're deep. They have a few big guys, I think 3 of them, that each rotate and are able to do their job well. Their guards are really good. I think when we play them Saturday, we have to get off to a better start. I know we started off, we were down 30-10, and we came back towards the second half, but when you're down that much, it's hard to complete a full comeback. So as long as we can get off to a better start and make some shots in the beginning, then we'll be able to hang in for the rest of the game.
So you have a few games left in the regular season and then hopefully the postseason. As a senior, I know you're kind of just thinking about being the best you can possibly be for your team, but are you reflecting at all about your career almost being over in the next month or so?
Yeah, I mean, I sit there and, you're talking to your friends, you talk to your family, and, you hear, hey, you got a few weeks left, you got to make the most of it. So just going into practice, having a good time, working hard, being with my teammates, playing games, that we have 4 left plus playoffs. So you just got to make the most of it. It's coming to an end and you can't help it. So you just got to make the best of it and have fun and just know that these memories will last forever.
Now, you are a baseball player as well, as we mentioned at the top of the interview. You're focused on basketball, obviously, but baseball season is a little less than a month away now with spring break. So a lot of talent coming back for the baseball team. So what's the outlook going to be for the Jackets on the diamond this year?
I know the guys, they put in a lot of work. Me personally, I get in there when I can, throwing with some of my teammates. But for them, they've been working really hard. I see the work they put in, and they started practice yesterday. I see them around, and I'm excited to join them here in a month, obviously after basketball ends. But I think that we can be really good. We got a lot of pieces coming back. We're bringing back a lot of starters, a few starting pitchers, and I think that our ceiling can be really high, and we can compete with anybody.
So you're used as a relief pitcher out of the bullpen. What do you expect your role to be? Like what situations would you see yourself entering into?
A lot of the same as last year. As last year being my first year back, just kind of feeling things out and just kind of how the college baseball game is played. And I think this year will be a lot of the same roles coming in middle relief towards the end of the game. I think that'll be the same role, and I'm excited for it.
All right, thank you very much, Nate. When we come back, Jack and Dylan will give you their top 5 Waynesburg athletes of the week on Jacket Sports Weekly. Stick around.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes you.
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
It's time to wrap things up here on Jacket Sports Weekly, but not before we give our top 5.
Yep, familiar name at the top of my top 5. At number 5, Matt Popek, 15 points against Geneva on Wednesday, 18 points against Thomas More on Saturday. He now leads the PAC in scoring at 16.9 points per game. Number 4, Joe just sat down with him. Nate Gearhart, 17 against Geneva, 10 against Thomas More, 27th in the PAC in scoring, averaging 9.3 in his senior campaign. Aubrey Wingart comes in at my number 3, 5th place in the 5,000 meter at Youngstown State with a time of 17:58.13. She came in second place, or the second place finisher at that meet rather was from John Carroll University, that was D3. 2 other finishers came from Canisius and 1 from YSU. Those are all Division I. Number 2, Amber Yawk, 2nd in the triple jump, 7th in the long jump. Her sophomore campaign continues to go on strong. And number 1, no surprise, Jake Evans, 175th career win at the John Suma Invitational. I can't imagine your number 1's different.
My number 1 is not different. I do have a couple different up towards the top, though. We'll start with number 5. I'm going with the freshman Haley Porter from the women's basketball team. She had 17 points, a team high, against Geneva. She can shoot the 3 well when she's on, and she's really developed into a big minutes position for head coach Sam Jones this year with the smaller roster. Number 4, similar from Jack, I have Amber Yawk in that 4 spot. 2 top 10 finishes at Mount Union, 2nd in the triple jump, 7th in the long jump. Number 3, Brennan Smith, the senior, Mr. Consistent, as I said earlier in the show, 19 points against Geneva in a tremendous bounce-back season after being out with an injury last year. Number 2, sophomore Andrea Orlowski, national honors. She has to crack the top 5, in my opinion. She was also the PAC Player of the Week and continues to be a dominant offensive and defensive force for Waynesburg. And number 1, it's Jake Evans, 175 career wins, 3 pins, 2 in the first period. You don't want to go out on the mat with that guy.
No. Crunch time for the winter sports teams as PAC championships are on the horizon. For Dylan Cleland, I'm Jack Hillgrove. Thanks for watching Jacket Sports Weekly.
This has been a production of Waynesburg Community Television.